Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And this whole Zondo Commission and the state capture inquiry is becoming just part of the whole corruption scandal now. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Because basically what it now appears is that those investigating the corrupt are themselves corrupt. So it's highly unlikely they're going to press charges against anybody. Let me tell you more about the story. Top law firm Msindisi and Ndlovu and Sudumedi Attorneys, or MNS, which is investigating state capture at Transnet, has been linked to alleged kickbacks involving a former board member of the parastatal in an audio recording obtained. The 2018 recording is of a conversation between fired Transnet board member Seth Radebe and MNS chairperson Msindisi and Ndlovu. It was made when Radebe was fighting his axing from the board by Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, a case Radebe lost in court. The recording appears to be of a suspicious conversation that casts doubt on the lawfulness of appointing MNS to assist Transnet with the investigation and prosecution of those linked to state capture. The discussion also deals with an unexpected payment of 2.2 million rand by MNS to Radebe, who allegedly initiated the appointment of MNS at the parastatal. The recording comes just weeks after reports emerged that law enforcement agencies were ready to start prosecuting those implicated in state capture at the parastatal. Several investigations by MNS have led to the sacking and suspension of a number of Transnet executives, including former Chief Executive Officers, or CEO, Siyabonga Gama, former Chief Financial Officer, Anoj Singh, former Head of Freight Rail, Ravi Nair, former senior managers Lindiwe Mletshe and Tamsangwa Giani, and former Chief Procurement Officer Gary Peter. The investigations form a critical part of the much-anticipated state capture prosecutions, and any indication that the law firm's work may be tainted could reverse progress in bringing those accused of corruption to book. Radebe told City Press on Friday that he was not aware of any recording of any conversation between him and Ndlovu. He said, "I will be unable to confirm anything as I have no record of such, and I have moved on from Transnet, as you may well be aware, that I have duly lost my case in court." But after listening to the recording, Radebe yesterday disputed its authenticity, as it appears to be doctored and tampered with a fitting of a certain narrative. He said, "I'm not even sure that the voice is mine in a few instances. I had met Ndlovu on a few occasions to discuss various issues pertaining to my work then, but the recording herewith is totally a resemblance of fake news. The fact that I continued with my case against Gordhan should be an indication that I am incorruptible. I have never received any money from MNS," he said. On Friday, Ndlovu initially said, "I've never had any discussions with Radebe on the issues that you have mentioned." He later disputed the existence of such a discussion after listening to the audio recording. But yesterday afternoon, shortly after going to print, the paper received a letter from MNS in which Ndlovu states that after listening and reviewing the recording, he disputes the authenticity of some parts of the alleged audio recording. He confirmed meeting Radebe on various occasions, while the latter was disputing his removal from Transnet's board, but he disputed any conclusions and insinuations of wrongdoing. Ndlovu said his relationship with Radebe arose out of a professional work carried out at Transnet. Part of the letter sent to City Press from MNS managing partner Chiamo Sedumedi read as follows: "After his removal from Transnet, our client and Radebe explored other business initiatives outside of Transnet that they might jointly pursue. It is on the basis of this relationship that Radebe was able to solicit our client's views on the litigation that Radebe had brought to challenge his removal from the Transnet board." Radebe was appointed as a Transnet board member in December 2017 by former Public Enterprise Minister Lynn Brown and was then made chairperson on the board's audit committee. Guptas terminated his services after accusing the board of not acting on the recommendations of a report by Workman's attorneys that certain executives be charged for their role on the controversial 1064 locomotive tender, from which the Gupta family-linked businesses scored billions of rands in kickbacks. The value of the contracts to supply the locomotives rose from 38 billion to 54.5 billion, or about a 50% increase. Radebe has said that the Worksman's report was incomplete and refused to act on its recommendations, including referring it to law enforcement agencies. Instead, he brought in MNS to finalize outstanding issues in Worksman's scope of work. The recorded meeting precedes September 2018, when Radebe lost his case. From the recording, it is evident that the speakers had met on a number of occasions and also had an original discussion about MNS allegedly paying certain amounts to Radebe and about allegedly appointing subcontractors preferred by him when he was a board member. In the recording, the speaker identified as Radebe informs the speaker identified as Ndlovu that in his affidavit in the legal battle of the sacking of the board, Guptas mentioned that he was not happy with MNS's work. During the conversation, Radebe also ostensibly warns Ndlovu that the MNS report on Transnet could be taken on review by those implicated, including Gama. Ndlovu said, "If anyone wants to take us on review, we are ready. Our task is to assess whether there was compliance with the law. Our report is on the law, and we are not saying Mr. So-and-so stole money." Ndlovu says MNS does not need Radebe's protection and also warns him against trying to dictate the work of MNS. "Just because you appointed us, you think you have control over our lives?" Radebe is adamant that the report will be found wanting because it has implicated people who were not given a right of reply. In the recording, Ndlovu also complains about the subcontractors that Radebe had given to MNS. He says MNS does not agree with their fees and we cannot be spectators when they overcharge. Radebe then says he also wants to discuss his unexplained payment arrangement, but Ndlovu said he is unhappy with the court challenge against Guptas. The voice described as Ndlovu says, "And the next thing, you are asking for money. You are asking for money for this and asking for money for that. But how when you fight the people that are supposed to pay us? If something is worse about to appear about your shenanigans or whatever, whether corrupt activities or whatever, you will be destroyed forever," Ndlovu warns Radebe, "whether in regard to our appointment or the appointment of the other subcontractors that you have worked with, then that is the end of it." Ndlovu goes on to accuse Radebe of taking money from subcontractors, to which Radebe later counters, "What about the money from you?" "Yeah, I mean all that," responds Ndlovu, adding that Radebe cannot claim that he is not corrupt. In his letter, Sedemedi told the paper that MNS appointed subcontractors of its own volition and that it was not uncommon for clients to recommend subcontractors. In the recording, Radebe claims that MNS owes him a balance of 2.2 million rand in terms of the original discussion, but Ndlovu is not persuaded. "I don't know, but I do not promise that," said Ndlovu. "I really do not promise to pay you 2.2 million. I do not know why I must pay you 2.2 million, but let's keep discussing. But I want you to come back to me about your case." He gives Radebe an ultimatum that if he drops a case against Guptas, they can negotiate his claim for 2.2 million rand payment. "I cannot sit here and you asking me for 2.2 million rand, but at the same time you're fighting the minister that is giving us work. I do not agree with the 2.2 million rand. It is something we will discuss, but it is fine. Just come back to me and I meet you on sensible ground. I don't want to be meeting you in the dark corner and scared that who's watching us, who's taking videos, and the next thing the videos are out there, and that's it." And Lovell continues, "Just listen to me. Just stop this thing and see how we can do other things. Just listen to me. Just settle with Pravin. Just settle. Just settle." And then he goes on to say, "Just go to your lawyer and say, look here guys, I'm tired of this thing. It's draining me financially and what have you. I want to settle with the minister and make peace with it. Just make peace with the minister. Finish and clear." In the letter to the paper from Sedumedi, Ndlovu denies allegations of bribery or any insinuation of a payment obligation towards Radebe for the services that MNS tendered. He said there was absolutely no need or basis for our client to have a corrupt relationship with Radebe, as MNS was appointed purely on its expertise and competence. At that stage, no relationship of whatever nature existed between Radebe and our client or MNS. He said it was also clear in the recording that Ndlovu categorically denied any pre-existing relationship between himself, MNS, and Radebe, or agreement on payments or obligations that he had towards Radebe. Asked in the recording whether Transnet had extended MNS's mandate, Ndlovu said that Radebe's people inside are trying to sabotage this thing. He mentioned the CEO and head of legal, Ndifwe Selinga, who was also opposed to the appointment of MNS. However, Ndlovu said MNS had found a way to help the board circumvent the legal approvals that Selinga complained about. In the letter from Sedumedi, Ndlovu said claims that the appointment of MNS at Transnet was irregular were incorrect. It is, however, common knowledge that there were certain persons within Transnet who incorrectly held the view that MNS appointment was irregular. It is on this basis that MNS had a legal opinion to address the purported obstacles that were raised to justify an alleged irregular appointment. Now, this whole thing is really messy. When you've got corrupt lawyers who are taking backhanders and giving out backhanders to people because they've been appointed to a certain position, and they're supposed to be actually involved in looking at state capture, you can see how this whole thing has become just absolutely a load of crap, which is what the Zondo Commission is. No one has been charged over the Zondo Commission revelations. It's just absolutely ridiculous. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, stay safe. Bye for now.